Hello, this is Ben from Agfa. So what we're looking at in this next video is how to UV unwrap these stairs. So as we can see here, when we look at it from one angle, it's okay, it's a bit stretched, but when we look at it from the side angle, it's very stretched. So if I go here and I open up the UV editor, and we'll just pull this to the side, just so we can compare the two. And I click on here, I can see this is the sort of shape that I've got here. So it's not very representative of these in the first place. So let's just try straight ahead doing what we learned in last lesson, which is the UV. So we're just going to go with planar. So we're going to go here, planar. I'm going to choose y-axis because that's where it is there, and click apply. And it's still... So the thing is that only unwrapped a face. I've got to be in object mode to make sure it does the whole object. Cool. So from this angle, it looks just fine. But from this angle, not so much. So from this angle here, what we're looking at is a bit of an issue where it's seeing those faces as just straight lines. So if I click on these faces here, they represent them as whole faces. But if I click on these ones, they're just represented as lines. So they're still there, but they're just not actually showing up on this UV. So what we can do though, that is really quite useful, is we can use the unfold tool. So the unfold tool basically works where we iron out these shapes. So if you imagine this as sort of like a shirt or something else like that, we're going to iron it out and then see these lines or these faces here will then make themselves apparent. So it's going to stretch it out lengthwise, and then we're just going to rotate it back into position. So again, just to show you why we do UV unwrapping and why it's important, I'm just going to apply that broken tile texture here. And again, from here, it looks just fine. But on the sides here, not so much. We have this weird stretching thing, and you'll often see in games, you'll see these sort of stretched textures. It's normally because it hasn't been UV unwrapped properly. So how do we do that? Well, we're just going to right click and hold in here. We've got edges, UVs, faces, and vertex. We're going to go to UV shell, and that'll select this whole shell here. We're going to go to modify and go unfold. And what that immediately does, we can see that we now have, instead of lines, we have squares, and it's also stretched it out. All those faces that used to be hidden are now actually visible. They're not just straight lines anymore, they're actual full shells. But we've just got to actually straighten this up a bit. So to do that, I'm going to right click, go to UV, select all these UV shells here. I'm just going to go ahead and switch the gray off so people can see. So it's a bit crooked. I could try and rotate it into position, but I'm actually just going to hold down the shift key, right click, go to straighten, straighten UVs, and that will just straighten it all up there. So now when we look at it, we can see these are all tessellating. They're all seamless. They're all flowing on each other, which is really good. So if I make this a little bit bigger like so, now we can see that it all flows there. So each of these tiles down here on this face lines up with the tiles on this face. And that's really important with UVs, is having those seamless textures there. Because otherwise it doesn't work. So if we wanted to say have water running down here, we could do that. Or if we wanted to have an escalator sort of pattern here, that's how we would do that as well. So that's all I wanted to look at in just an introduction to the unfold tool and how it relates to the planar tool. So I'm going to stop this recording now, and then we'll be prepared to look onto the next one, which is cylinder UV unwraps.